Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Wamesay Show. Now, today's video I'm actually shooting on my phone instead of on my camera attached to my computer. Now, the reason I did that is because I heard the audio was really bad, like on the ones I film on my computer. It does have a built-in microphone in the camera, but I've heard enough complaints to know that it's time to try something a little different. So here we have the first of the ones filmed on my phone. Hopefully you all will enjoy this. First thing I want to do is show you around a little bit. This is my art studio and my library. So let me just turn this around so you can... Okay. First thing we have up here that caught my eye is an actual cactus. How appropriate for the Papa Balloon and Cactus guy to have that. Then here's a little terrarium that my sister put together for me. She said it was a lot easier than the one she bought for herself. So I'm just glad she did that. The other one that she bought is not put together yet. Alright, then we have my art supplies. There you go. I use water brushes when I use traditional supplies. Alright. Then here we have a Colin Upton mini comic. Colin Upton is a Canadian artist, and he does really awesome like self autobiographical comic books, or mini comics, I guess you'd call them. And I love them all, and $2 is not bad for a mini comic. So they used to be 25 cents, but the world's kind of changed. It's not exactly for the better. Sorry, guys. Alright. Then here's the guitar case. I do not play the guitar because my hand does not work. And even if it did work, I wouldn't probably play it anyway. I did have some lessons before, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't strum anything. I couldn't show you a chord or nothing. Now these boxes here, I've actually got 3 of these boxes, but one of them is actually behind the guitar there. These are my art supplies. I've got things like tape, and I've got packaging and bubbles and things like that. Some old newspaper for packing, putting things tight and secure. Just for when my Kickstarters are over, I'll have a back supply to make sure everything's packed properly. Then over here we've got a cheeky monkey that's been hanging here for at least a decade or so, as far as I know. Oh, there we go. There's the brace I wear on my leg every day because I have trouble walking. I do walk with a cane usually, but if I'm going someplace that requires a lot of walking, I usually do take a wheelchair. Right? There's my headphones. I believe they had a built-in microphone too, and I experimented using those in a video yesterday, and I guess that didn't work out too well. But they're good for listening to music at least. Then here's a triptych that my mother purchased. I don't know if they're in order. Then I want to introduce you to my number 1 fan. There you guys go. That's my number 1 fan. Now behind the fan there is original art by Sam Tissonis, I think his name is pronounced. I've only ever read it, so sorry if I mispronounced your name there. Let me get a little bit closer there. And there's my printer. It does have a scanner, but it's only 11 by 8, so I can only do typing paper sized images, and the scanner is not that high quality. Alright, there's another cactus. That one is going to be one of my displays at the Hershey show. Speaking of which, this is all the stuff that I have for the Hershey show. Here's a table, but it's about 4 feet. It's not 6 feet. But we just wanted to get a lay of the land. In here, we've got a tablecloth. We've got a metal rack, as you can probably see there. All right, then the shirts are that wooden crate. All right, then that box over there is where we keep the banner for right now. It's a little cumbersome. It gets in the way if you just leave it sitting up. All right, and then we have my library. We got 3 shelves worth of books. Now these are all somewhat alphabetized. I did put some books away the other day that weren't quite alphabetized. Now this is actually 3 different alphabets here. We got these books that are fairly like comic booky size. Then we have a shelf, or 3 shelves rather. They go all the way across here, A to Z, because these are smaller size books. And then down here, well, first in the front we have the Alfred E. Newman Sandman piece by Mark Hempel. The frame that I bought for it came cracked, so I still need to change that out. But all the books that are back there, pardon the chair is for my company and for when I have like tech support coming over, then I'll have somewhere for me to sit down because I really need to sit down, and I'll also have something so it doesn't seem so rude. But once again, I backtrack myself. The bottom shelf is larger books, also alphabetized. So I got 3 alphabets going on here. And up top, I've got some comic strips. I've got more comic strips mixed in here, but I decided for space, I put those up there. Also up there is my only action figure. It's Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot, which is technically 2 figures, but what are you going to do? Alright. Then here's the stuff for the show this upcoming Sunday. It's all boxed away. This is where I'm going to put the candy for the Hershey show, which is in July. Alright, here's the possible supplies I'll bring with me to that show, including these pens and pencils and all these little tchotchkes. I also have Hershey Kisses in there that I printed out like little QR codes, and basically I'll give them away for free, but all you have to do is just scan the QR code and just go to the website. You don't have to buy anything or there's no commitments or anything. All you have to do is just scan that. I just wanted some traffic to the website for once. It's a pretty dead website, but hey, it is what it is. Alright, then here we've got books I'll be showing off later. And here's books I already showed off. There's that Lou Reed book, the little Lenny Bruce book. I think I see the Stanley Kubrick book there, but the binding's not sitting out. Then we've got Kanan the Marauder. Then here I keep my watercolor sets. I've got 3 of them there. The largest one on the left with a tape dispenser in front of it is really nice. That one was like $60. All the colors came individually wrapped, and I had to unwrap them from plastic and the paper binding before using those. That took me about 15 minutes with one hand, of course. And the other ones are just old trays that I'll eventually use. Sometimes I use them, but the dipping trays are a little used up there. There's an example right there. Check that one out. That one's kind of hard to mix colors on that one. And the tape dispenser is my one packing supply that doesn't get boxed up like over here. Alright, and then here is my computer. This is where all the action happens. I do all of my art, most of my art, 95% of my art is digital artwork. And this is the Cintiq that I use. And here's the pen, of course. And I think that's about it. I think we'll just come back here then. Alright, I'm going to switch it. Alright, hi guys. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to show you is some of my watercolor, actually. This was done for somebody who supported Steve Peters and Bianco Alumar's recent campaign on Facebook. I've talked about that ad nauseum. I basically said that anybody who does donate to the campaign, I would do them a free watercolor sketch here. So, but it had to be a character from the comic verse. And Lenny selected Farmbot. This might be mirrored on your screen. It's mirrored on mine. But here you go. I'll put it sideways so you guys can see it also that way if you choose to see this on your phone. There we go. Oh, here we go. There's a Conan I drew a few months ago. Well, it's pretty good, bike Rom. Is there anything else in here that's that exciting? Oh, here's an abandoned Ninja Turtle one that I was doing. A little too basic, I guess. Didn't quite work out, but it's fun to experiment, right? So, that's the only commission I have today to show you guys. Now, the first book that I'll be showing you, these are all almost all from the small shelf of the alphabetized books there. But here we have one by Jeffrey Manley. Right here is his QR code if you all want to scan it. I'll hold it up for a couple seconds. All right, now this book is called Never Meet Your Heroes. He actually did this at a time when I was releasing either my second or third issue. And he sent me a bunch of these at his cost. That was really cool of him to give to my fans and people that are buying my book there. Well, there you go. There's Lucy Van Patten from the Peanuts comics. Now let's check out the interior. All right. Lucy on the very first page says, "Oh, brother, you really think you are the hero in this book?" There you go. Then on the opposite page, it says, "Chill out, puppy." And it's Riley holding Snoopy. This book was just full of cartoon characters and famous strip characters interacting with our friend Riley, the teenage Bigfoot. All right, here's Luann, and it's a one pager. It says, "He's right behind me, isn't it?" Or it's right behind me, rather. Sorry. And the next page is Beetle Bailey. He's fallen asleep in Riley's hands. And he says, "Little guy was sleepy." So yeah, I don't know if he has any more of these available, but check out whatever he's got going on right now. I know he's got a Patreon, I believe. So if you want a daily dose of his artwork, he is a very, very consistent marathon man kind of guy. All right. Next we have Legends of the Blues. This is by William Stout. Check out the really, really cool back cover here. This reminds me of Robert Crumb's books. He did, I think I have one of them here. Legends of the Blues that he had done. But it was a larger book that I had. But I've seen books like this. So like here's one with Chuck Berry. It has a little mini biography next to his image. Alright, here's Charles Brown. Sorry if my hand's in the way a bit there. Alright, this is Bertha Chippy Hill, who I'm not familiar with, so I should probably read the text here. William Stout is a really awesome artist. He's known a lot for drawing dinosaurs, and I've seen a lot of images from Wizards. The movie Wizards is a Ralph Bakshi movie, I believe. And I don't know if he worked on that movie or if he just was a big fan, but I've seen a ton of artwork from that guy. Now here's Lightning Hopkins. Really awesome. All right, let's find one more that I've heard of. There's a couple guys there's quite a few guys in here I've never really interacted with. Okay, here's Little Walter. I think we all know Little Walter, at least by name. I don't know what he sounds like. It'd be time to jump on the Google Music and find out. All right. And here's the text if anyone wants to zoom in on there. Hopefully it's not mirrored on my screen. All right, let me put that book down. Next book for the day is Melvin Munster. Now this is a nice little version of, I do have a larger version of the John Stanley library that Drawn and Quarterly had done. Now if you've ever seen John Stanley's work, it's really clean and really nice stuff. He's done a lot of Little Lulu, and he's done the Nancy comic books, were, I believe, mostly him. I don't know if he did all the artwork, but I believe he did the artwork in all of Melvin Monster, which was a short-lived series, I think from either Dell or Gold Key, I'm thinking. I'm not 100% sure, but I know Drawn and Quarterly publishes them now. But I just really love that kind of artwork. So check that out. That's very small and compact. It might be a good gift for kids coming up in comics that you want to share that with. That reminds me of the Addams Family. It's got that kind of like silly, dark humor that wouldn't be appropriate in our world, but is very appropriate in theirs. All right, then there was this is actually, I believe, the last book here. All right, this is called Vignettes. Now, this was Jim Valentino before he was the Guardians of the Galaxy guy. He was actually a good independent artist for a long time. This is actually the stuff I prefer. Here's the back cover, of course. And there's an introduction by Dave Sim, but I'm just going to read you the back. I don't even know what it says yet. I'm going to do this blindly, so bear with me. All right, it says, if much has been accomplished in the field of autobiography, in the comics field has been diffuse, unfocused, and self-pitying, there is nothing of that in these stories. Each represents a critical juncture in the life of the young self. If the conclusion seemed flawed or cosmetic on occasion, it reflects Jim's ability to recognize the gray area being documented and the need to look his mirror image square in the eye. That's Dave Sim. All right, that is all the books I have, but I do have everyone's favorite cover. Woo! Don't go blind. Ooh. And as you all know, every new episode, I do like to post a quote from here by this is basically full of advice for various aspects of one's career by a myriad of interviews from Comics Interview by David Anthony Kraft. He didn't do all the interviews, but he published the magazine. All right, and this is a chapter. This is chapter 4, The Art of Comics. All right, this will be. Let's see. Well, that quote cuts off on a different page. I don't want to go to that one. Let's see here. Okay, here is hot tips from. Let's go with Alex Skotsky. We don't hear anything from that guy anymore. Will Eisner would see a Hitchcock movie on Saturday night. This is when we were working on the Spirit supplement, 8 pages. And he would incorporate in the Spirit all of the lighting effects that Hitchcock had done. Well, that's a really cool idea. I've got actually a couple books about Hitchcock on my shelves, which we'll focus on another time. I want to thank you all for joining me for another episode of Jamesay Wamesay. I just realized I've never really talked about where I got the name from. It's basically a play on Steve Lee's alter ego is actually Stevie Weeby. Now that's Bobby Lee's brother. He's a funny guy in his own right. He's a little bit out there. He believes a lot of the conspiracy theory stuff, and he's pretty wacky. But he's a really nice guy, and I really like him. He moved from Los Angeles back to Arizona just to take care of his mother, which I can really respect. And I hope someday somebody takes care of me that way. Well, I'm Jamesy Wamesy, and we'll leave the light on for you.